My wife's daughter humiliated me in front of the entire family. When I complained, my wife cut me off immediately. You're not her father. Don't demand respect. I just smiled. The next day, I cut everything off. Her college, her apartment, her car, her phone, and her credit card. Everything vanished. I didn't say a single word when she came up and slapped me across the face. It was my stepdaughter's 21st birthday dinner, an expensive steakhouse. 20 relatives at the table, and I was paying the $3,000 bill. All I had done was ask Chloe to lower her voice because she was mocking the waiter. She didn't just react badly, she exploded. You're a pathetic loser, Michael, she spat, her voice echoing through the suddenly silent restaurant. You're just the guy who pays the bills. You have zero authority over me. You're nothing but a bank account with a receding hairline. Then she threw her wine glass. Red wine soaked through my white shirt. I looked at my wife, Emily, expecting her to step in, defend me, at least look horrified. Instead, Emily leaned closer and whispered loudly enough for the whole table to hear, "Sit down, Michael. You're embarrassing her. You're not her father. Don't demand respect from a girl who owes you nothing." The table burst into laughter. The laughter lasted less than it felt like it did. 5, maybe 6 seconds. But in my mind, it hung in the air like someone had held down a piano key too long. I saw Emily's cousin cover her mouth with her napkin. I saw Uncle Richard stare at his plate with a crooked smile. I saw the cousin's husband lean over and whisper something into her ear that made her laugh again, this time quieter. I saw Chloe, still standing there with the empty glass in her hand, drop it onto the table with a hard clink before sitting back down, satisfied. Emily, beside me, didn't even look at me. She picked up her napkin from her lap, folded it twice, and set it neatly beside her plate. Then she took a sip of water. The calmness of it all was what stunned me the most, like she had just settled a minor inconvenience. I stayed seated. The wine dripped down the collar of my shirt in a cold line against my skin. I could smell the sweet acidity of the Cabernet. I could feel the weight of everyone's eyes pretending not to look at me. The waiter Chloe had been mocking approached with a white towel in his hands and stopped about 3 feet away, unsure whether to come closer. I gave him a small gesture that meant, "It's fine." He nodded and stepped away. I didn't answer Emily. I didn't answer Chloe. I didn't look at anyone who had laughed. I picked up my napkin, carefully wiped my chin and neck, folded the napkin into quarters, and placed it beside my untouched glass of white wine. "Dessert?" Emily's sister called from the other end of the table in a high-pitched voice, clearly trying to change the subject. She waved at the waiter. "Can we get dessert menus?" The waiter returned with 11 menus and passed them around the table. When he reached me, he handed mine over with a small nod. I opened it, read every line carefully. Dark chocolate tart with sea salt, Madagascar vanilla creme brulee, yuzu cheesecake, artisan ice cream trio. I read the prices too. 24, 26, 22, 18. If all 20 people ordered dessert, it would add another $450 to the bill, plus coffee, plus after-dinner drinks, plus tip. "I'm getting the cheesecake," Chloe announced loudly, as if nothing had happened. "And a double espresso." "I'll take the chocolate tart," said Emily's cousin. "Creme brulee for me," Uncle Richard added. Everyone ordered. Emily's sister even wrote down the choices on her napkin like she was officially managing the birthday dinner. When it reached my turn, I looked up from the menu. "I'm not having anything," I said calmly. Emily's sister paused for half a second too long, unsure how to react. Emily stayed perfectly still beside me. "Are you sure, Michael?" her sister asked with a polite smile. "Yes." "Well, all right." The waiter collected the menus and walked away. Conversation slowly returned around the table in smaller groups. Vacations, traffic, someone's new house. No one spoke to me. I sat there in my stained shirt, hands resting on my lap, staring at the centerpiece of white hydrangeas leaning slightly toward my side of the table. And in those next few minutes, I thought about strange things. I thought about my father, who had died 2 years earlier. I remembered something he once told me when I was 32 and about to marry Emily. We had been standing alone in his kitchen while he poured coffee. Without looking at me, he had said, "Son, some women choose you because they love you. Others choose you because you're useful." At the time, I had dismissed it as bitter old man advice. Now, sitting there with wine soaking into my shirt, the sentence came back with the clarity of something spoken 5 minutes ago. Then my thoughts became more practical. Automatic payments, monthly withdrawals, every contract I had signed over the years, every guarantee, every authorization, and how many of those signatures were still active at that exact moment while I sat there humiliated in that restaurant. Probably all of them. I started mentally listing them one by one. Chloe's tuition came directly out of my checking account every semester. Her apartment lease was in her name, but I was the guarantor. The car loan was under my credit. The family phone plan, 5 lines, my account, the supplementary credit card, my signature as the primary holder, health insurance, car insurance, gym membership, streaming subscriptions, everything. 14, 15, 16 separate payments, maybe more. Every one of them had a phone number, a customer service department, a cancellation process. I estimated the timing in my head. If I started at 7:30 the next morning, I could shut everything down before noon. "Michael, are you all right?" Emily's mother asked from across the table. It was the first time anyone had spoken directly to me since the wine incident. I looked up, smiled slightly. "I'm perfect," I said. She nodded awkwardly and returned to her coffee. Emily finally turned toward me. For the first time in 15 minutes, she actually looked at my face. She expected anger, humiliation, something. But whatever she saw there, she didn't recognize it. Her eyebrows pulled together slightly, like someone trying to read a language they thought they understood. "Are you really okay?" she whispered softly enough that only I could hear. "Yes, Michael, about Chloe. You don't need to explain anything." "What do you mean I don't need to explain anything?" "I mean exactly that." She stared at me, waiting for more, waiting for me to accuse her, defend myself, raise my voice, give her something she could respond to. I gave her nothing. I looked back at the hydrangeas and waited for dinner to end. Desserts arrived. I didn't eat. Coffee arrived. I didn't touch that either. When the waiter discreetly slid the check beside me, exactly as arranged earlier that night, I glanced at the total. $3,047. I pulled out my card without looking at the itemized receipt. And if you don't want to wait for part 2, you can watch the full story on my YouTube channel. Just tap share, then more, and click the YouTube link here on my profile, or search for the channel Cooper Reddit on YouTube.